You may have seen that Nepal's parliament was set on fire today. Scenes from the uprising against the government have been flooding social media. The wife of the former Prime Minister of Nepal has died after she was burned alive when her home was set on fire amid violent anti-government protests in the country, regional media reported. The Nepalese parliament building and the homes of political leaders were torched in the unrest, which has plunged the Himalayan state into a full-blown crisis. The protests, which are being led by Gen Z, erupted on Monday in response to the government's ban on major social media platforms, combined with a long-standing resentment about political corruption and lack of opportunities for young people. We're showing you some of that footage on screen right now. Citizens reportedly going house to politicians' homes, rioting against what they say is corruption. And of course, there is the social media piece as well, which we'll tell you about in a moment. Here's some more footage of the parliament absolutely engulfed in flames. It was built in 1903 as the PM's residence, it says, and protesters broke into the building, looted it, and set it on fire. So we're going to play you this clip, but we want to warn you, it is quite graphic, so viewer discretion is advised. Shadow of Ezra says government officials in Nepal are being hunted down, chased, stripped, and beaten in broad daylight. The fury has reached the doors of power, with protesters setting fire to the homes of top leaders and even torching the parliament building. Nepal's rulers can't even walk their own streets without being attacked. Who is funding this? And here's the clip, and we'll play some of it for you. So, as we said, it is being reported the uprising was led by Gen Z. And while the government corruption was a huge reason, it seems the catalyst was the government shutting down social media. Reclaim the Net reported about this. Nepal blocks Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, and other major platforms. Nepal has moved to block public access to nearly all major social media and messaging platforms after tech companies failed to comply with the government's sudden demand for registration. Platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, and more than a dozen others were ordered offline by the Nepal Telecommunication Authority under government direction. Authorities justified the action as part of a Supreme Court mandated compliance push following a contempt of court ruling that instructed the government to regulate online spaces by requiring all digital platforms, whether local or foreign, to formally register and monitor content that officials deem inappropriate. The Ministry of Communications and Information Technology issued a statement making clear the platforms were given 7 days to comply with the government's directive on regulating the use of social media 2080, and that failure to do so would result in access being revoked. Though officials framed the demand as regulatory housekeeping, the sheer scale of the shutdown painted a much more troubling picture for civil liberties, obviously. The blocked list included nearly every household name platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, X, Reddit, Rumble, LinkedIn, Signal, Pinterest, Threads, Discord, WeChat, and more. And interestingly, Telegram, which many believe to be the beacon of free speech and free internet prior to Durov's arrest, actually complied with the Nepalese government. On the list of other platforms who agreed to the censorship demands were TikTok and Viber. In relation to the previous question of who is funding this, on the surface it really does appear to be a young generation utterly fed up with a political class that does not listen to them. and shut down their means of communication. Like it or not, the internet and social media is something that almost all of the world depends on, whether it be for promoting your business, keeping up to date on what's happening in the world, local community groups, fundraisers, neighborhood community groups, neighbors helping neighbors, countless Facebook groups in local townships, organizing political action, or simply just having interaction with others. You can't just cut people off from that, nor can you continue to impose draconian laws on it without some repercussion. Now, we're certainly not condoning violence of any kind. But what we see here is how seriously this young generation takes internet freedom, the ability to interact and utilize a tool that should be available to everyone without government interference in what we are and are not allowed to say on it. Freedom of speech is the bedrock of all societies, and when governments take extreme measures against that God-given right, well, Nepal has just shown us an extreme outcome of such actions. Social media access has since been restored in Nepal after the government lifted the ban that sparked the deadly protests, and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned.